There are a bunch of really awesome Star Wars updates that just recently happened, so we're going to break all of those down. We're going to talk about the Mandalorian Documentary series, more details about Season 2, and some very interesting stuff with regards to the Rebels sequel show. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Use your Force powers to blast that like button with some Force lightning, and let's get right into this video. So this is really cool. A bunch of cool Star Wars news to go over, and I'm genuinely excited about all of it. Let us start with the very interesting revelation that was just announced earlier today about a Mandalorian documentary series which will be debuting very soon. According to StarWars.com, on this coming May the 4th, which is also known as Star Wars Day, Disney is going to release the first episode of an 8-episode documentary series titled Disney Gallery Star Wars The Mandalorian. The documentary series will talk about the making of The Mandalorian and the impact that The Mandalorian has had on the world. So from concept to final edit to fan reaction, they will be showing us all sorts of stuff from behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. In the StarWars.com article, it mentions that the show will cover things like the legacy of George Lucas, how the cast brought the characters to life, the show's very unique technology, the artists behind the practical effects and the creative influences, as well as the score and how the show connects to the rest of Star Wars canon. And let me just explain that I am incredibly excited for this. I'm actually more excited for this show, this documentary series, than like a lot of other stuff that's out there in media right now. Like The Mandalorian is awesome, but I love these kind of shows, like documentary shows, going behind the scenes. And, you know, particularly when it comes to Star Wars has a great history of these type of behind the scenes look. Empire of Dreams is one of the coolest documentaries I've ever seen. And even though there's stuff in there that's not even factually correct, if you read other materials, George Lucas was almost being propagandistic with how he portrayed his views on Star Wars and his planning for Star Wars. Either way, Empire of Dreams is a fantastic documentary. Now, let me go over a list of things that I'm most excited to check out in this show. Number one, it's the whole concept, the idea of the show, and really the bromance, but also the working relationship with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. These two dudes made some real magic, and I'm just really excited to see more of that from behind the scenes. I love it whenever I see clips of them talking at a convention or doing an interview together. I really like the chemistry between them. They're just really, really cool, like big nerds, man. They're just like us, so I'm very excited to see more of that in the show. And the other thing would definitely be the technology. We've heard about this weird, bendy, half-circle screen that they have for The Mandalorian and how they can use that soundstage to project any background. But I want to know what is going into that technology. How does it work exactly? I'm really looking forward to seeing all of that stuff with the technology used in The Mandalorian. I'm also getting a sense, and of course this is speculation, but I'm getting a sense that part of the reason they did this documentary series is actually to build up the PR for Jon Favreau. I think they want to get Jon Favreau's face in front of more Star Wars fans. They want people to associate Jon Favreau with The Mandalorian and therefore very good, universally praised Star Wars content, because I do believe that Jon Favreau will be doing something with the Star Wars brand. I don't know if he'll exactly take over for Kathleen Kennedy or just be elevated into some big creative role, but I think Jon Favreau's future is with the Star Wars brand beyond even The Mandalorian, and I think this documentary series could do a great job of getting sort of the more normie Star Wars fans to understand and realize that Jon Favreau has a lot to do with The Mandalorian and should be really praised for what he has done with Star Wars. Because, you know, one of the things that I found interesting with some interviews with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau from Celebration last year is that Favreau is really used to like the Marvel world. He understands the Marvel world and the Marvel fans very well, but he looked to Dave Filoni when going to Star Wars Celebration for like, how do I read the room? How do I interact with these Star Wars fans? What are they going to like? Now, Dave told him, he's like, look, these guys, they get it, especially when they go to Celebration. Like all the nerds that go to Celebration, they're almost all of them are on a pretty high nerdy level. They're going to love and be into the stuff that we love and be into. That's what Filoni told Favreau. But I think that the point there, what I took away from that conversation was that Favreau is aware that he's not a household name among the Star Wars fan base. The Star Wars fan base doesn't like know him the same way that they know George, the same way that they know Kathy, the same way that they know Dave Filoni. And so I sort of just extrapolated out from that little conversation that it might be a good idea to have Jon Favreau in front of more Star Wars fans talking about Star Wars, especially if he's going to be heavily involved in Star Wars's future. Now, it's also important to note that Monday, May the 4th, will also debut the season finale of season 7 of The Clone Wars. Normally, that show comes out on Fridays, and the Mandalorian documentary series will also come out on Fridays following The Clone Wars, but that week, you will see both the season finale of The Clone Wars and the first episode of this documentary series on the same day. I think it's awesome, man. I think this is a great sort of quarantine positive way to enjoy Star Wars Day. We can't go out and get a bunch of toys or go hang out and play Star Wars games with our favorite Star Wars fans. So we can instead all experience these things on Disney Plus together and then geek out here. We'll probably do a live stream that day. We might even do one of our community streams that day. It'll just be a lot of fun. So I'm very excited for Star Wars Day, May the 4th. I think it's going to be really cool. All right, next up, we got to talk about Rosario Dawson a little bit here. She literally came out and all but confirmed that she is going to be Ahsoka in season 2 while talking to Variety. Okay, so she's literally asked by Variety about her playing Ahsoka Tano. This is what she says. She says, "That's not confirmed yet, but when that happens, I will be very happy." She replied and then added, "I'm very excited for that to be confirmed at some point, and it would be 1,000,001% because of the fans." I mean, really? That's not confirmed yet, but I can't wait till it is. And, you know, when it's confirmed, I'll just say it's awesome and 100% the fans' responsibility. I mean, it's really cool, but she's pretty much confirming it. Like, that's the wildest answer I've ever heard. Normally, when Star Wars actors or potential Star Wars actors are asked questions, they give answers like we'll talk about in a second when it comes to the voice actor for Ezra Bridger. But I find this just amazing, man. She's pretty much confirmed that, yeah, she's going to be Ahsoka. I've always been of the mind that she was going to be. I sort of read in the tea leaves that this was a real story. I know there was skepticism out there, but it looks like, you know, all signs point to her indeed being the live-action Ahsoka Tano, but that's not all. We've also recently got some reports about her contract that open up the door to a solo Ahsoka Tano series. The outlet The Direct recently ran a story about how Rosario Dawson's contract does leave it open for multiple show appearances. Now, it is important to note that this is not uncommon with these types of contracts. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to follow through on them. Remember, a lot of the actors and actresses for Solo, a Star Wars story, also had multi-picture deals signed in case they were going to go on to do a trilogy with those characters. They obviously are not doing that. I don't think they will do that in the future. So it's just a normal Hollywood thing to sign these sort of contracts. However, there is a lot of interesting buzz out there from various sources, including Grace Randolph and The Hollywood Reporter, that suggest that Disney is looking to backdoor a live-action Ahsoka Tano series. So while this doesn't confirm anything other than, you know, the fact that she is going to be live-action Ahsoka, it is cool to talk about and speculate about, and I want to know what you think. Do you think this means we will be seeing a solo Ahsoka show? And lastly, we've got to talk about a scoop that Bespin Bulletin ran all about the voice actor that plays Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels. They sat down with Taylor Gray and asked him a ton of very cool questions. I recommend you go check out their Instagram for the full details of that interview. It is very interesting to see what he said about different aspects of the character and just doing Star Wars in general. But for the purposes of this video, we need to talk about what he said when he was asked about the Rebels sequel series. Bespin Bulletin asks, "There's been rumors of a Rebels sequel series. Do you have any comment?" And Taylor Gray says, "I probably can't say anything. I don't want it to seem like I'm hiding anything, just don't really have anything to add on that. I haven't heard anything beyond the rumors online about a sequel." But here's the thing, guys. If he really hadn't heard anything beyond just the rumors, he would have just said that. Instead, he opens with, "I probably can't say anything." Well, why can't you say anything? And then why do you go on to say something? It's just this kind of weird foot in mouth thing that a lot of these different actors actors do, particularly young actors or inexperienced actors that are coached to not talk about this sort of stuff. Their first instinct is to talk about that they can't talk about it. Now, this famously happened with Frank Oz a little bit before The Last Jedi when he was asked about it and said that I cannot comment about that. People would be upset if I said anything about it, so I can't say anything about it, which all but confirmed that yes, Yoda would be in The Last Jedi. Now, we touched on this earlier today on the morning stream over on our live streaming channel, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We stream for at least an hour every day. Why aren't you over there? It's a really good time. And I actually misspoke earlier today because I thought he didn't say that he probably can't say anything. I thought he just said he hadn't heard anything but the rumors, and that's because that's how that information was conveyed to me. But when you read his actual answer, he clearly says, I probably can't say anything, which is also, by the way, what Rosario Dawson should have said. She confirmed it through a totally different, weird way of confirming it. But a lot of people online, when I looked at the Reddit, thought that this comment by Taylor Gray meant that yes, indeed, he had heard of Ezra Bridger and the Rebels sequel series. However, as far as I know it, when I'd reached out to my sources, when I talked to Jason Ward about this months and months and months ago, there was no mention of Ezra being in the show. Now, the concept of the search for Ezra has been floated around by a lot of different people. I've heard it quite a bit, but the fact is I have not heard anything about Ezra or Thrawn actually being in this Rebels sequel show. But as many people have pointed out, it is very possible they are saving that for later seasons. This show would likely run for at least 4 seasons, probably 4 years on Disney+. And if they're searching for Ezra, that would be a really weird thing to pay off very, very early on in the show. It's likely that wouldn't happen until much later, but I think it's probably happening eventually because of Taylor Gray's comments. He probably has been told something about this coming show. But that one gets into really weird, rumory, speculative territory, but I did think it was interesting and I wanted to bring it up to you guys. Taylor Gray makes comments saying, I probably shouldn't say anything about that, but I haven't heard anything about a Star Wars Rebels sequel show. What do you think that means? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Gary Lemming. Indeed, the original color on the prototype for Boba Fett was all white. Shout out to you, Gary. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. Sort of a softball for you Rebels fans, but I want to know, what planet did Ezra Bridger come from in Star Wars Rebels? Answer that question in the comment section below. Another reminder, folks, we are organizing our massive trivia contest behind the scenes. We're going to have a ton of dope prizes. We will be broadcasting the trivia contest over on our live streaming channel and maybe on our Twitch. So if you want to get involved, if you have a team of 4, email us at thedenofnerds@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. And if you're just a single person that wants to participate and wants to be figured out or put into another team, email us or hit us up on social media. We are currently organizing the teams behind the scenes. You can click or tap over there to get lost down a nerdy rabbit hole with some of our content. Like the video if you liked it, and as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.